How did ancient builders move stones larger than even the biggest blocks in Egypt's pyramids? Why are the heaviest ones hidden beneath a Roman temple? Could this site be far older than we're told? Evidence of a lost super-civilization with secrets we were never meant to uncover? Hidden in the mountains of Lebanon stands a structure that should not exist. Its stones are so large, so impossibly precise, and so heavy that no modern builder has dared to replicate the feat. These are not blocks. They are giants of stone, each heavier than the largest pieces used to build the Great Pyramid of Giza. And yet they were moved, lifted, and placed with shocking accuracy, centuries before cranes, hydraulics, or even the most basic mechanical wheels. 3 of them, called the trilithon, weigh close to 1,000 tons each. Still today, no clear method explains how they got there. Was this the work of ancient human hands, or the last remaining proof of a forgotten super-civilization that left no name behind? And if so, why has it been buried beneath the ruins of a Roman temple, as if it were meant to be hidden in plain sight? Some say this site, known as Baalbek, could change everything we think we know about history. But few dare to ask the deeper question. What if it already has? What if this platform was never meant to hold a temple, but something else entirely? Something erased. The official records say the Romans built the Temple of Jupiter here, placing their columns on top of this strange foundation. But Roman architects were known for documenting their feats. Here, no tools were found, no notes, no explanation. The platform was simply there, and its base tells a story of silence, not pride. Could the Romans have inherited something far older, something they couldn't understand? And what might have stood here before the temple ever rose? The platform's blocks are so precisely cut, they fit without mortar. Each stone is longer than a city bus, and taller than a grown man. They are arranged in a line that runs with near-perfect straightness, as if laid down by a machine. And yet, no machines existed when these were placed, at least not according to accepted history. Nearby lies the stone of the pregnant woman, still locked in the quarry. It is one of the largest stones ever cut by human hands, weighing over 1,000 tons, and it was never moved. Why? Did the builders suddenly stop, or were they stopped by something else? Just beside it, archaeologists found an even larger block, buried deeper, suggesting that this project was growing, not slowing. What kind of civilization begins to work at such a scale, only to vanish without a trace? The terrain between quarry and platform is rough, sloped, and uneven. No road connects them. No drag marks remain. And no pulley system known to ancient engineers could have managed the task. Could they have used sound, frequency, or forgotten techniques that modern science has yet to rediscover? Some theorists suggest the stones were moved by vibration, made lighter through controlled resonance. Others propose they were levitated, not dragged. As strange as that sounds, the facts remain. These stones are there, and no one has explained how. Could this mean the platform was never meant to serve the gods of Rome, but rather something lost to time, something far older? Beneath the Roman temple, hidden under centuries of belief, lies the real enigma, a foundation built with an obsession for precision, with no records, no inscriptions, no glory. Was this platform a relic from a civilization erased by flood, fire, or conquest? Was it left behind as a clue for future eyes, too large to hide, but too strange to accept? Some legends speak of giants under the command of King Solomon, others of beings from the stars who once walked among men. Is it foolish to ask if such stories might hold a seed of truth? The stone platform at Baalbek is not myth. It is real. It stands today, untouched, unmoved, and unchallenged by modern builders. It demands a question that refuses to go away. What if the real story of Baalbek lies not in the ruins we see, but in the civilization that came before them? A people with power beyond our own, and a secret still pulsing beneath the weight of forgotten stone. Before Rome ever raised its marble columns, something far older had already claimed Baalbek, hidden beneath the grand ruins of the Roman temple. Ancient stones and scattered clues whisper of a deeper history that few ever hear. This land, nestled in the Bekaa Valley, shows signs of being sacred long before Latin prayers echoed off its walls. It wasn't empty when the Romans arrived. Beneath the surface lies a tale of forgotten builders, older than empire, older than kings. Early excavations found layers of activity stretching back to the Bronze Age and even into the Neolithic period. Simple tools, scattered pottery, worn floors, all buried beneath imperial stone. But these traces raise more questions than they answer. Who lived here over 8,000 years ago? And why did they choose this very spot? Archaeologists suggest it may have been the water. The area once had springs, flowing clean and steady, drawing life from deep underground. Others believe it was the elevation. The high plain may have offered a wide view of the stars or a defensive stronghold. Still, others wonder if something unseen made this land special, something felt but not explained. Could it be that Baalbek's first builders sensed an energy in the earth, a pulse or pull, now forgotten? As primitive as their tools may seem, these early settlers left behind something enduring, layers of intentional structure. Beneath later ruins, subtle outlines of older rooms, stone bases, and aligned passageways suggest design, not accident. And yet no records remain, no tablets, no carvings, just silent stones. Could this silence be the mark of a civilization wiped away? Not by time, but by something else. Some researchers think the site may have been used for worship long before the gods of Rome or Phoenicia. But worship of what? The original purpose is lost. The site's early name is unknown, but its importance must have been obvious, because generation after generation kept returning, and each group left its own mark, stacking history like sediment. Over time, the ruins grew deeper, and the story grew stranger. By the time the Phoenicians arrived, the place may have already been ancient. And when the Romans claimed it, they called it Heliopolis, the city of the Sunday. But did they truly understand what lay beneath their feet? Or did they simply build over a mystery too vast to erase? If the oldest parts of Baalbek are Neolithic, that places them among the earliest known human settlements anywhere. But unlike other sites from that era, Baalbek was not just a place to live. It was built with intention. The oldest foundations align with cardinal directions. Certain corners point to solar risings. Stones were cut and placed, not just stacked. Why such care from a people we assume were primitive? Could it be that they were not as primitive as we've believed? And if Baalbek's earliest builders understood the stars, the earth, and the stone better than we do today, what else might they have known? Some believe these early cultures carried ancient knowledge passed down from even older survivors. Survivors of what? A cataclysm, a flood, a fallen world. Legends across the Near East speak of lost ages and buried cities. Is it possible Baalbek was one of them? Rebuilt and reused, but never truly understood. As civilizations rose and fell around it, Baalbek endured. And with each new age, the mystery grew. The Romans left monuments. The Phoenicians left myths. But the oldest builders left only stone. Was this by accident or by design? Could the silence be a message, one meant for future eyes? If the earliest layers of Baalbek were laid before writing, then what knowledge was passed without words? through alignment, through architecture, through the very weight of the stones. Some archaeologists suggest these patterns were not symbolic, but functional, that the layout of the early structures served a purpose now lost. Energy conductors, star maps, or something more. Could this have been a site of communion between earth and sky, between people and something else? As strange as it sounds, ancient sites across the globe show similar patterns, aligned to solstices, to magnetic lines, to constellations. Could Baalbek have been one node in a much larger grid? And if so, who designed the network? The oldest parts of Baalbek may hold clues, but they are also the least studied. Roman glory overshadows Neolithic silence. Deep layers remain untouched, sealed beneath centuries of stone. Modern excavations have barely scratched the surface. Political unrest and sacred boundaries limit digging. And so the mystery remains. But one thing is certain. Baalbek's story did not begin with the Romans. It began long before writing, before records, before kings. In an age lost to time, a certain group of people chose this place and shaped it with meaning. They are gone now, their names forgotten, but their stones remain. And in those stones may lie the first true chapter of Baalbek, a chapter written not in books, but in weight, in shadow, and in silence. Could the world's oldest civilization have left its fingerprints beneath Roman stone? And if so, why has no one dared to dig deeper? Hit like and subscribe for more ancient mysteries that challenge everything we thought we knew about history. If you stood beside them, you might mistake them for natural cliffs. The trilithon stones at Baalbek are so large, so perfectly shaped, and so mysteriously placed that their very existence defies what we've been told about ancient engineering. Each one weighs around 800 tons, yet they lie in a row, as if slid gently into place, cut and positioned with such precision that a razor blade cannot slip between them. These stones are not part of a monument. They do not display names or markings. They form the invisible base of a platform, hidden behind later Roman walls, almost as if they were never meant to be seen. Why would a people spend immense time and energy to move and shape such colossal blocks, only to bury them beneath another structure? Were these stones not the foundation of the Roman Temple of Jupiter, but the last surviving piece of a structure long forgotten? Modern experts struggle to explain how the trilithon was built. No clear method accounts for the transportation, lifting, and placement of stones this size using ancient tools. Even today, cranes capable of moving that weight are rare, and assembling such machinery on a steep, uneven hill would pose serious challenges. Yet here the stones rest, aligned so precisely that they suggest more than strength. They suggest advanced knowledge. Could there have been a forgotten technology used to move these stones with ease? Could the builders have known something we do not? Ancient legends from this region speak of giants, titans, and gods who shaped the earth with effortless strength. While these stories are dismissed as myth, one must ask, where did the inspiration come from? Could the trilithon be more than a foundation? Could it be a message? The absence of decoration or writing is striking. Unlike Roman monuments, which were inscribed with names and events, the trilithon stands mute. Its builders left no clear sign of identity or intent. Some scholars argue that this silence is proof of utilitarian function, but others see it differently. Could the lack of markings be deliberate? Could it be that the stones once supported something not of this world? Something not meant to be remembered in conventional history? The precision of the cuts, the squareness of the corners, and the near-perfect contact between surfaces suggest planning that exceeds what was common in the ancient world. Many ancient builders relied on rubble cores, irregular stones, and plaster fillings. The trilithon does not. Its builders worked with enormous single pieces of stone, cutting them as if they were wood, and fitting them together without mortar. Why? Some believe the stones were meant to anchor powerful forces, magnetic, energetic, or otherwise, that required such mass and alignment. Others suggest the platform may have been a base for something massive, now gone, a tower, a machine, a vehicle of unknown design. Could it have been a landing pad, a power station, or was it the base of a temple now erased by time, conquest, or fear? The theories sound wild until one sees the stones in person. Then the questions seem less far-fetched. The trilithon's position is also strange. Instead of being at the top of the site, it sits buried in a lower wall, as if the builders were hiding strength behind stone. Later, Roman layers were stacked above and around it, showing a clear difference in technique. Roman construction relied on bricks, cement, and organized layers. The trilithon belongs to something else. Something much older. Was it reused? Did the Romans discover it and choose to build atop it, recognizing its stability but never understanding its origin? The fact that the Romans left no record about the trilithon adds to the puzzle. These were a people who recorded everything, from battles to baths, yet they remained silent about the largest stones they ever used. Could that silence be because they didn't build them? And if they didn't, who did? Some point to the unfinished stones left behind in the quarry nearby. The most famous is the stone of the pregnant woman, weighing over 1,000 tons and still joined to bedrock. Just beside it, another even larger block was found, buried and untouched. If these stones were being prepared to join the trilithon, it would mean the builders were scaling up, not slowing down. But then, the work stopped. No one knows why. Could a disaster have halted the project? Could the builders have vanished due to war, disease, or climate change? Or was something deliberately hidden? If the trilithon was part of a structure removed or destroyed, then its true purpose is gone. All that remains is the platform, still holding weight, still silent. Could it be that these stones were part of a larger global tradition, seen also in other megalithic sites, places where enormous stones were moved and fitted with similar precision, from South America to Egypt to Asia? Could this be evidence of a worldwide knowledge, shared long ago, and now lost? The idea of an ancient global civilization once seemed impossible. Now, as evidence like the trilithon continues to baffle, more researchers are beginning to ask if our timeline of human progress is too simple. Could the history we've been taught be just the surface of something deeper, buried like the trilithon beneath the ruins of time? The platform at Baalbek is not fiction. It is real. It is massive. And it is unexplained. Its stones are not broken. They have not shifted. They remain fixed, strong, and patient, until someone proves how they were placed and why they were hidden. The trilithon will remain one of the greatest riddles of the ancient world. A riddle carved not in words, but in weight. Just beyond the edge of Baalbek's grand temple, hidden under layers of time and dust, lies a stone riddle left half-solved. A few hundred meters away, where nature begins to reclaim the land, the earth opens to reveal something breathtaking. A quarry, carved deep into bedrock, where time seems to have frozen mid-task. Here lies the stone of the pregnant woman, one of the largest stones ever carved by human hands, weighing more than 1,000 tons. Even more astounding is the block found beside it, still partially embedded in the quarry floor, reaching a mass of over 1,600 tons. These aren't ordinary construction stones. These are giants, shaped with intention, measured with care, and then abandoned. Why? What halted their journey? Why did the builders, capable of such precision and ambition, suddenly stop? The cut faces of these stones are smooth and deliberate, with angles too perfect to be the result of guesswork. The tools that touched them have long vanished. But their marks remain, a record of knowledge, purpose, and a plan that was never completed. But what was that plan? Were these blocks meant to join the trilithon, expanding the platform even further? Or were they destined for a different purpose entirely, one erased from history before it could be fulfilled? Many theories surround their abandonment. Some scholars believe a natural event caused the builders to stop, perhaps a landslide or a shift in the quarry floor. Others propose that political or military upheaval cut the project short. But others ask a more haunting question. Did something happen that made the builders afraid to continue? Could the site have been shut down deliberately, as if to bury something too powerful to reveal? What secrets might have been hidden within those massive blocks? Or beneath them? Some researchers believe the stones themselves were not simply meant to be moved, but were part of a greater energy system, requiring their exact placement to channel natural forces. Could they have been conductors, markers, or keys to something long forgotten? If so, then leaving them in the quarry might have been a way to stop that system from activating. The idea sounds wild until you stand next to the blocks and feel their overwhelming presence. These aren't just stones. They feel like thresholds, theories surrounding lost technologies, like harmonic resonance or sound-based levitation, have become more than fringe speculation in the face of such unexplained engineering. Could the builders have used frequencies to shift mass or manipulate gravity? If so, why did the knowledge vanish? Was it stolen, suppressed, or simply lost in a great collapse? And what if these unfinished stones were meant to be a message for the future? A warning carved into the earth, not in words, but in scale. Something too massive to ignore. Local legends claim the stones carry a curse, especially the stone of the pregnant woman, whose name hints at something hidden, something yet to be born. Are these just stories told by villagers, or echoes of a much older truth? Could the name refer to a secret the stone holds, something waiting beneath, concealed from eyes not yet ready? Other interpretations say the name relates to the weight of the world carried by the builders, or a forgotten goddess once worshipped here. If true, were the stones part of a sacred structure, or a monument to a forgotten age? Why do they remain untouched after all this time? Even modern machinery has avoided the challenge. No one has tried to move them. No serious excavation has explored beneath them. Could it be that someone doesn't want them moved? What might lie beneath a 1,600-ton stone untouched for thousands of years? Some suspect the stones were meant to be lined up with others at the temple site, creating a platform unlike anything on Earth. Others believe they were part of an even older structure that predated everything built on top of Baalbek. Could these stones date back not just before Rome or the Phoenicians, but to a civilization erased from history entirely? A culture so ancient that no trace remains but its impossible works. The unfinished quarry gives us a rare look behind the curtain. Unlike the completed stones at Baalbek, which were moved and placed with such precision that their origins are debated, these blocks reveal the beginning of the process. The intent is visible. The ambition is unmistakable. And yet, the reason for their stillness remains out of reach. Could the quarry itself be the key to understanding Baalbek? Not the temple, not the platform, but this quiet field of half-born giants. If the builders stopped, it means something stopped them. The question is what and why? Until someone moves the stones, digs beneath them, or unearths a forgotten record, the quarry will remain a snapshot of ancient ambition halted in its tracks. A place where questions weigh more than answers. And as long as the blocks remain still, the mystery of Baalbek will continue to echo, not just through stone, but through the very silence they left behind. For centuries, scholars have pointed to the Romans as the undisputed builders of Baalbek, citing the towering columns and classical temples as proof of imperial skill and ambition. But beneath those familiar Roman layers lies something far harder to explain. A megalithic foundation, made of stones so large, so precise, and so inexplicably placed that many believe the official narrative falls apart at its base. The Roman architecture above is grand, yes, but it pales in comparison to what it rests upon. And here lies the rift between conventional history and growing alternative theories. Could it be that Rome simply built on top of something they found? Something they could not recreate but still chose to use? Architects and engineers who have visited Baalbek often walk away stunned, not by the Roman temple, but by the stones below. These experts point out that the techniques used to position the megaliths at Baalbek do not align with any known Roman methods. The weight alone defies replication. No ancient Roman text mentions how they transported stones approaching 1,000 tons, and no tools have been recovered that suggest such capability. So, what are the possibilities? Some theorists argue that Baalbek's base dates back not just centuries before Rome, but perhaps millennia. Could it have been the work of the Phoenicians, or even older still, a civilization forgotten entirely by modern textbooks? The architectural style of the lower platform is distinctly different from the temple above it. The joints are tighter, the stones larger, and the construction more precise. If the Romans truly built the entire site, why would their foundational work appear more advanced than the upper structure? Could the builders of the base have been using techniques now lost to time? And if so, where did they come from? Some believe Baalbek was once part of an ancient worldwide civilization, connected to sites like the pyramids of Egypt, the megalithic walls of Peru, or the temples of India. All of these share one peculiar trait: stones cut and placed with a precision that modern machines struggle to match. Could Baalbek have been a node in a forgotten global network, one that existed long before recorded history? And if so, what happened to it? Why did it disappear so completely, leaving behind only its impossible architecture? Others point to astrological alignments, claiming that the original platform may have been part of a calendar system or energy grid that predated known science. The precision of its angles and placement might not have been for structural reasons at all, but for spiritual or technological ones. Could these massive stones have once interacted with forces we no longer understand? And if the Romans found such a site already standing, would they have seen it as sacred, or as a strategic platform to co-opt for their own imperial image? The lack of Roman records about the foundation is telling. Romans documented their accomplishments in detail. They recorded construction dates, methods, and the names of architects. But at Baalbek, the silence is deafening. It's as if they didn't build it at all, or didn't want to take credit for something they couldn't explain. Could it be that Baalbek was already a ruin when Rome arrived, its origins lost even then, its purpose already forgotten? Some legends from the area tell of giants who once moved stones with ease. Others speak of fallen angels, or watchers, who taught humans forbidden knowledge, only to be cast down when their secrets threatened to upset the balance. While such tales sound fantastical, they raise a deeper question. Why does so much ancient myth revolve around massive stone construction and beings who once knew how to shape the earth? Could Baalbek be part of that hidden story, the physical echo of a legend too dangerous to preserve in full? Skeptics argue that extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, and rightfully so. But Baalbek's proof is in plain sight. Stones so large they cannot be ignored, placed so well they defy imitation. And the more one studies them, the more it seems they were not part of Roman ambition, but of something older, something that vanished before Rome ever rose. Could this be why no culture claims Baalbek's foundation as its own? Because its builders left no trace of language, no records, no icons, only weight, silence, and mystery. If we accept the possibility that Baalbek predates Rome by thousands of years, what else must we reconsider? Our timelines? Our understanding of ancient capabilities? Or even the very nature of human history itself? Perhaps what we call lost civilizations are not lost at all, but simply buried under names and eras that refuse to fit their scope. Baalbek may be one of the last surviving markers of that deeper past. Until we understand who laid its first stones, and why, the site will continue to challenge every idea we thought was settled. Beneath the towering columns of Baalbek's Roman temple lies a forgotten foundation that tells a deeper, stranger story. As archaeologists dug below the familiar ruins, they found something unexpected. Earlier layers of stone, older and rougher, but strangely larger and heavier than anything the Romans placed above. These lower courses do not resemble Roman construction. They are laid without mortar, their surfaces uneven, their edges less refined, and yet they endure. Why would a civilization as advanced as Rome rely on cruder, bulkier blocks as a base? Could it be that these foundations were not Roman at all? The deeper the dig, the more puzzling the picture becomes. Fragments of Bronze Age tools and Neolithic relics have been pulled from the soil near these older stones, hinting that the site was already sacred or important long before Rome arrived. But the stones themselves offer the most compelling evidence. They are placed with such care, such weight, that their very existence challenges everything we think we know about Baalbek's timeline. Why would the Romans, known for their elegant arches and finely carved blocks, choose to build on top of something that looks almost primitive, unless what looks crude was actually part of a lost construction style, one focused on mass and permanence rather than appearance? Could these stones belong to a people whose skills differed from Rome, but whose intent was no less great? And if so, what purpose did they serve before the temple rose above them? Some researchers believe these older layers were once part of a different structure entirely, perhaps a fortress, a temple, or even a power station of unknown design. Others suggest a simpler explanation. The Romans inherited the site and built upon what was already there. But if that's true, then it raises a deeper question. Who built it first? Could this be another example of Rome claiming the works of a vanished culture, just as they did in parts of Egypt and Greece? Some even suggest the foundation stones were repurposed from a ruin already ancient in Roman times. The architecture of the lower layer supports this theory. The blocks are larger than those used in the Roman walls above, and their irregular shapes and tight joints bear more resemblance to megalithic sites in Peru or Anatolia than to anything in Italy. Could Baalbek's base be a surviving piece of a much older civilization, one whose name we've forgotten, but whose stones still whisper from the ground? Legends from the region speak of ancient giants who once moved stones with ease. Could these be more than stories? Could these blocks have been shaped by hands lost to history? And if so, why did later builders choose not to disturb them? Some say the lower stones hold energy, or that they align with patterns in the Earth's magnetic field. Others claim they were placed as part of a larger celestial grid, marking something sacred beneath the surface. If these theories hold any truth, then perhaps the Romans recognized the site's power and chose to harness it. Was the temple above a continuation of that purpose, or a cover for it? Could the act of building on top of the older stones have been more than practical, perhaps even symbolic? As if to say, the old gods were gone, and a new order had taken their place. But what if the old gods never left? What if the lower layer still holds secrets Rome never unlocked? The absence of Roman records about the foundation is striking. The empire documented everything: dates, names, methods. But at Baalbek, the foundation goes unmentioned. It's as if the base was always there, a feature of the land too ancient to claim. That silence may be the most telling clue of all. Some have proposed that Baalbek's lower level was not meant to support a temple, but something else entirely, something massive and heavy, now gone. Could the stones have once held a platform for landing or launching? Could the site have served as a gateway or a beacon for travelers from beyond the earth? Theories like these push the limits of historical thinking. But the stones themselves refuse to be ignored. Their size alone places them among the largest in the world. Their presence beneath Roman refinement forces us to question what came first and what was lost. Perhaps Baalbek is not a Roman marvel at all, but a palimpsest, where layers of forgotten knowledge lie buried under centuries of conquest and reconstruction. Until someone unlocks the full story of the foundation, who built it, how, and why, Baalbek will remain a mystery half told, and the truth may rest not in the heights of the temple above, but in the weight of the stones beneath. Across the Middle East, stories still speak of a ruler who could command both man and spirit, a king whose voice carried through the unseen. That ruler was Solomon, and legends say he built his great works not through armies or slaves, but through beings made of smokeless fire, the jinn. According to ancient texts, Solomon possessed a divine seal ring that allowed him to summon and control these powerful entities, forcing them to labor in the construction of vast monuments, temples, and fortresses. While the Quran and Jewish mystic writings both describe Solomon's command over spirits, some scholars and mystics claim these tales preserve more than moral symbolism. They may record fragments of an event far older than religion itself. Could Baalbek, with its impossible stones and enduring foundations, have been one of Solomon's command sites? Could its massive blocks still bear the mark of beings that once bent the laws of matter? The Quran states that under Solomon's rule, the jinn built palaces, statues, and cauldrons so large that only giants could move them. The language is poetic, yet eerily specific, as if describing a civilization of immense scale. Jewish midrash adds to the mystery, describing the shamir, a mysterious tool that could cut through stone without heat or sound. It was said to carve the stones of the temple in silence, out of respect for God. Could this shamir have been an ancient form of technology, misunderstood by later generations as magic? Some researchers believe it may describe a kind of energy device, perhaps sound-based, or using resonance, capable of shaping hard material without leaving tool marks, the very same mystery we find in the foundations of Baalbek. If Solomon's builders used such forces, could the jinn have been more than mythic creatures? Could they have been the memory of something else entirely? Entities mistaken for spirits because their abilities exceeded human comprehension. Ancient witnesses, seeing beings who could manipulate matter or light, may have reached for the only language they knew, the supernatural. The Lebanese people, who still live near Baalbek's ancient stones, tell a tale that fits perfectly with this idea. They say that the stone of the pregnant woman, the largest carved block ever found, was once being moved by a jinn who dropped it mid-task when Solomon's power waned. Some say the being was punished, frozen in time, turned to dust before it could finish. Others say the site was cursed, its purpose sealed forever. These legends may sound fantastic, but they preserve hints of forgotten truth. They speak of immense energy, of labor halted suddenly, of projects abandoned after the fall of a powerful ruler. Could the jinn be an ancient metaphor for an enslaved race? Whether divine, extraterrestrial, or technological, whose service ended abruptly? Could the immense platform of Baalbek have been their last task, left half-finished when command was lost? Theorists who explore this possibility point to a global pattern. From Egypt to Sumer to the Andes, massive megalithic works seem to appear suddenly in the archaeological record, using techniques that later cultures could not replicate. The stones of Baalbek, like those of Giza or Cusco, show precision and size unmatched by those who claimed to build above them. Could all these sites have been touched by the same intelligence, one that ancient chroniclers later reimagined as divine servitude? If Solomon's builders were not entirely human, then perhaps Baalbek's stones are their last surviving testimony. Many believe that when Solomon's reign ended, the connection between worlds was broken. The jinn, whether spirit, hybrid, or traveler, retreated into the unseen. In every version of the story, there is loss. A barrier rises, a power fades, and humanity is left with stones too large to move. Yet the legend endures, echoing through generations as both warning and wonder. Was Solomon's command over the jinn a symbol of spiritual mastery or literal control over another species bound by oath or technology? Could his seal ring have been an ancient device of frequency or resonance, the same principle that may have shaped the trilithon? And if so, where did that knowledge go? The temple at Baalbek may have stood atop something far older than Rome and far stranger than legend. Beneath its steps lie layers of forgotten stone, perhaps the very foundation where Solomon's unseen workers once stood. The air there still feels charged, as if some quiet force remembers. As day fades over the Lebanese plain, the giant stones catch a warm red glow, their surfaces alive with ancient light. The silence that follows is not empty. It hums faintly, like a memory refusing to die. Perhaps the story of Solomon and the jinn is not a myth to dismiss, but a code to be read, one that blurs the line between God and builder, between legend and legacy. And if the builders of Baalbek were indeed more than men, then their work was not merely for kings. It was for eternity. When the Roman Empire arrived at Baalbek, they built on an enormous scale, towering columns, intricate carvings, and temples dedicated to Jupiter, Venus, and Bacchus made it one of the grandest sights in the ancient world. But what they didn't build, and what they never explained, beneath their temples lie stones so large that even the Romans, masters of engineering, left no record of how they were moved or placed. Roman writings, usually so detailed, fall strangely silent when it comes to the base platform. No mentions of laborers, cranes, ramps, or pulleys. No grand claims of conquest over the stone. Instead, what we find are vague references to a pre-existing site. The earliest texts simply say that construction took place upon the platform, not that they made it. This subtle difference matters. Why would a civilization so proud of its architecture ignore what might be the greatest feat of all? Could it be because the platform was already there, built by others, perhaps even by a people the Romans could not name or fully understand? The stones at the base, especially the trilithon and its neighboring blocks, defy easy explanation. Some weigh as much as 800 tons. They are fitted so tightly that not even a blade of grass can slip between them. If the Romans didn't move these stones, then who did? And more importantly, why did the Romans choose to build on top of them? The theory that the empire inherited Baalbek rather than created it is gaining ground among independent researchers and archaeologists who question the mainstream narrative. If Rome did not create the foundation, then their decision to build such an important temple complex there becomes even more curious. Why this place? Why this foundation? Could they have sensed something ancient beneath their feet? Some believe the Romans recognized Baalbek as a sacred site, already known to the Phoenicians and others who came before. Its name even reflects this: Baalbek, meaning Lord of the Beka, referring to the Canaanite deity Baal. The Romans renamed it Heliopolis, the city of the sun. But the change of name did not erase what lay beneath. The city had already been chosen long before Rome. Its massive stones were not just a foundation, they were a message. But from whom, and for what purpose? Could the base have been a leftover from a forgotten age, one not recorded in any surviving texts? If so, why would the Romans, who built roads across continents and aqueducts that still stand today, not have left behind any plans or sketches of how they managed these blocks? Unless they didn't. Unless they, too, were in awe. Some evidence suggests they adapted their own architectural plans to fit the existing platform. The alignment of the Temple of Jupiter does not perfectly match the foundation's layout, suggesting they worked around what was already there rather than reshape it. This is unlike Roman behavior. They often imposed their will on the land, flattening hills, carving through rock, and bending nature to their vision. At Baalbek, they yielded. Could that be a sign of reverence or fear? Could the stones have carried a reputation, an energy, or a legacy too powerful to disturb? Might the Romans have sensed that they were standing atop something ancient and possibly dangerous? Some legends say the base once belonged to Solomon, or even to the Nephilim, the giants of prehistory. While mainstream historians dismiss these ideas, the sheer silence in the Roman record leaves room for speculation. Why document everything else, and not this? Could they have been protecting a secret? Or did they simply not know what they had inherited? The deeper layers beneath Baalbek contain older floors and artifacts dating back to the Bronze Age and Neolithic period. Could the Romans have unearthed these relics during construction and quietly buried them again? Could they have discovered inscriptions or symbols that didn't fit with Roman belief and chose not to record them? If so, what were they hiding? Others suggest the Romans may have built over something they hoped to harness. Ancient builders often placed temples atop older structures not by accident, but to absorb the power and legacy of those who came before. If Baalbek was once used by a lost civilization, then Rome's presence there could be seen as an act of conquest over mystery itself. Could the temple complex have been designed to seal the platform, to lock something away beneath stone and God? The silence of the Roman historians now becomes more suspicious than surprising. Could the platform have been known even then as a place not to speak of? Could the builders, priests, and generals of the empire have walked those same stones and chosen, deliberately, not to ask? The absence of evidence becomes its own kind of evidence. Not everything lost is forgotten. Sometimes it is hidden. Sometimes it is left undisturbed because those in power fear what they might find. And so the Romans built upward, skyward, raising their pillars high above the ground, drawing the eye to the heavens, perhaps to distract from what lay just beneath. Could it be that what they found at Baalbek reminded them of a past they didn't wish to explain? A power they couldn't replicate? A truth they dared not record? Long before Rome laid its columns, and before even the whispers of Solomon's seal, Baalbek was already known, not in scrolls, but in stories. Not in ruins, but in echoes, passed down through voices around fires, sung into the wind by wandering tribes, and whispered beneath the stars by those who never forgot. Among the Tuareg of North Africa, who roamed the desert for generations, there were tales of an ancient city where sound shaped stone, and the earth itself could hum with power. They did not speak of Rome, they spoke of the builders. These were not gods, but a people so advanced they were remembered as more than human. In Phoenician fragments gathered near coastal ruins, priests once sang of a high plateau far inland where stone glowed at night and the ground answered in tones when struck. These early Levantine voices described a structure older than memory, placed with knowledge that did not pass through books, but through resonance. Could Baalbek have been one of these places? Could the stories from desert tribes, coastal temples, and mountain villages all point to a time before recorded time, when knowledge was not just measured by stone, but by vibration? Modern researchers exploring the region's oral traditions have uncovered consistent patterns, references to a first people who spoke to the ground, carved not by force, but by frequency, and aligned their monuments with the stars and the breath of the earth. Could this explain the seamless fitting of Baalbek's stones, the absence of tool marks, the placement so precise it still resists decay? Among the Maronite villages of the Bekaa Valley, some elders tell of a voice that once lived in the stone, a guiding tone used by ancient hands to split, shape, and set the blocks. This was not myth for them. It was history, carried in lullabies and grave prayers. Could sound have been the true chisel of Baalbek? The Levantine mythos is filled with references to beings who passed through the land and left behind no names, only marks, giant beds, staircases to nowhere, and smooth-cut walls leading into the earth. What civilization left these? Could they be the forgotten ones? A term used by Aramaic-speaking mystics to describe those who came before the flood, before Babel, before man knew writing. These were not the gods of Olympus, but the teachers, the ones who gave humans their first taste of order, who vanished before their names could be carved in stone. Some say Baalbek was their temple, others say it was a gate. One of many. Could the site's impossible scale be the residue of a society that knew how to harness sound, weight, magnetism, and geometry not for beauty, but for function? The Tuareg tell of stones that floated when certain chants were sung. They claim their ancestors once carried stone through deserts not on camels, but through the air, guided by tones long forgotten. These stories echo through Berber tribes too, who describe a sacred pulse used to awaken the sleeping earth and open hidden doors. Did Baalbek hold such a door? And if it did, where did it lead? Some speculate that the trilithon platform, far from being a mere base, was an instrument, part of a larger harmonic structure, tuned to frequencies now lost to history. Could it be that what we now see as stone was once sound frozen into form? Ancient Levantine texts, now eroded or lost, hinted at this. In rare Canaanite glyphs, translated from temple fragments, there are signs that repeat, spirals, waves, and notations that resemble vibrations, not words. Could these be relics of a lost language of tone and energy, one that built not just temples but entire systems of living? Why does the land around Baalbek still carry a strange silence, as if holding its breath? Local shepherds sometimes speak of dreams that feel like memories not their own, of walking among giants, of feeling the stones sing beneath their feet. These are not fairy tales to them. These are warnings. Could those dreams be inherited memory, or a lingering field of energy embedded in the stones themselves? If Baalbek's early builders mastered sound, could they also have shaped time, leaving impressions that loop back into our thoughts? What kind of people could do this, and why did they vanish? Some say they never left. That Baalbek is still alive, not as a ruin, but as a key, a place of slumber, a place where the memory of the earth waits to be reawakened. The stones are not mute, they are patient, and the stories, passed through forgotten tongues and campfire hushes, may be the only guide left. Could it be that the oldest history is the one we never wrote down, even with the cranes, cables, and engines of the modern world? Moving a single 800-ton block is a feat that pushes the limits of engineering. And yet, in the heart of Baalbek, dozens of such stones rest, stacked with near-perfect precision, placed there thousands of years ago. The weight problem, as it is often called, defies conventional timelines and forces us to confront a question that humbles even the most confident historian. How did ancient hands lift the impossible? Imagine standing at the edge of the quarry, gazing up at the stone of the pregnant woman, its surface kissed by centuries of sunlight and dust. a block so massive that even the ground beneath it seems to breathe under its weight. Engineers today estimate that it would take multiple cranes working in tandem to shift it. And yet, this monolith was carved, smoothed, and aligned by those who lacked iron, steel, or engines. The limestone blocks forming the temple platform are not just large. They are almost beyond reason. Some weigh more than modern passenger jets. To cut, transport, and place them with millimetric precision would require technology and coordination far beyond what history attributes to the builders of the ancient world. And yet, there they are, immovable witnesses to something we cannot yet explain. Physicists speak of friction, gradient, leverage, and momentum, offering possible methods: rolling on wooden logs, dragging with ropes, or wetting sand to reduce resistance. But every calculation leads to the same impasse. The numbers do not work. The frictional force alone would crush any known rope. The terrain between the quarry and the temple, with its slopes and irregularities, would make such movement not just difficult, but physically impossible, without breaking the stone or the transport mechanisms. So we must ask, were these stones meant to move at all? Or did the builders, whoever they were, intend for them to stay forever fixed in place, a monument to the limits of human power and the reach of something greater? Some theorists suggest that the stones were lifted through lost mechanical principles, perhaps using resonant vibration, an idea once dismissed as fantasy, but recently reconsidered in light of experiments showing that sound waves can move small objects when precisely tuned. If small, why not large? Could a civilization have discovered a natural frequency of matter, using tone and vibration to reduce effective weight? Ancient texts across Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Levant whisper of voices that moved mountains and tones that cut stone like water. These could be myths or encoded memories of a technology so alien to us that we can barely imagine its physics. Others insist on a more terrestrial explanation, that the blocks were carved in place, and the quarry served as both workshop and resting site for material never meant to be transported. Yet that theory clashes with the evidence. Some stones bear wedge marks, suggesting preparation for movement. Others are part of a foundation that implies relocation and placement. If they were never meant to be moved, why shape them so carefully, so perfectly balanced in proportion? Archaeologists studying the ancient tool marks note something strange. The chiseling is inconsistent with Roman or Greek methods, showing deep, almost melted grooves, as though the limestone had been softened or partially liquefied before shaping. In certain light, you can see patterns that look less like hammerwork and more like flow. Could heat or energy unknown to us have been used to mold stone rather than cut it? Or is this merely erosion misread by eyes eager for mystery? Even skeptics admit that Baalbek stands apart. It is not merely the weight of the stones, but the logic of their arrangement that stirs unease. The trilithon, 3 massive blocks each weighing around 800 tons, forms the platform's core, a base so perfect that later Roman additions rest seamlessly upon it. The Romans were master builders, yet their engineering relied on concrete and repetition, not on balancing megaliths that defy every rule of proportion. So who built this base, and why did they stop? The idea that Baalbek was a continuation of a far older structure now finds resonance even among cautious researchers. They propose that the Romans found this giant foundation already in place, repurposing it as the platform for Jupiter's temple. But if so, then Baalbek is not Roman, it is prehistoric, a relic of an age that ended long before written history began. The deeper we dig, the more the soil itself resists clarity. Beneath the polished blocks lie older foundations, rougher and less geometric, as though built by hands from another era. Could this layering record not progress but regression, where the oldest builders were the most capable? The paradox haunts the site like a shadow. Each stone, each joint, each seam aligns too perfectly to be the work of accident or crude method. Engineers who study these surfaces speak in tones usually reserved for miracles. And perhaps that is what Baalbek is, a miracle of endurance, of knowledge, or of survival. The air around the site hums with a strange gravity, not just physical, but psychological. You can feel the weight of time pressing down, as if the stones themselves remember being moved, or never moved at all. As dusk falls over the valley, the temple glows in fading light, and the quarry lies silent, its unfinished giants resting where they were left. You look upon them and sense that something interrupted the builders. Something sudden, powerful, perhaps final. The tools were set down, the labor ceased, and the stones, too heavy to forget, remain as monuments to a task half complete. Whether abandoned by men or by myths, they speak the same truth: that history is not a straight path of progress, but a spiral of lost and found wisdom. What if Baalbek is the echo of an earlier age? An age that understood the laws of the earth not through machines, but through harmony, vibration, and intent. And if so, what does it mean that the same weight, the same silence, and the same perfection have endured untouched for millennia? Maybe the real mystery of Baalbek is not how the stones were lifted, but why they were placed where even time itself cannot move them. What if the ancients were not just builders, but engineers of a kind we no longer understand? Standing before the stone blocks of Baalbek, the idea that forgotten technology once existed no longer feels like fiction. It feels like a missing piece of human history. The sheer size, weight, and precision of these megaliths force a reevaluation of everything we assume about the ancient world. Could tools have existed that left no trace? Could techniques have been passed through oral tradition, guarded by priesthoods or secret societies, and then lost through conquest, disaster, or suppression? Among the more compelling fringe theories is the idea of chemical stone softening. Legends from the Andes speak of a liquid that turned stone to clay, allowing blocks to be molded like wet sand. While no such substance has been scientifically recovered, the deep, fluid-like tool marks on some Baalbek stones invite speculation. Could limestone have been treated with an unknown solution, allowing it to be shaped with wooden or copper tools, and then hardened again in the sun? If such a technique existed, would it leave chemical traces after thousands of years? Or would it vanish with time, erased by weather and dust? Another theory looks to sound. Ancient cultures revered music not just as art, but as power. Tibetan monks used deep harmonic chanting that resonates across vast valleys. Egyptian temples were designed with acoustic chambers that amplified whispers. Could resonance have been more than spiritual? Modern experiments have shown that sound waves can suspend small objects in midair. If amplified on a larger scale, could vibration have reduced the effective weight of stone, allowing blocks to slide or even hover? Some researchers believe the builders used horns, drums, or carved sound channels to create standing waves. At Baalbek, certain parts of the platform hum when struck, almost like a tuning fork. Is this a coincidence, or the leftover effect of a design meant to interact with sound? Then there are those who look to magnetic energy. The Earth's crust holds fields of geomagnetic force, especially in regions near fault lines like Baalbek. Could the ancients have mapped these energies? Ancient Chinese and Indian traditions describe dragon lines, or ley lines, along which temples and monuments were built to harness Earth's subtle powers. If Baalbek lies at such a junction, could it have been deliberately placed to amplify natural magnetism? Some theorists suggest the massive stones are not just weights, but tuning elements, perhaps acting like the base coils of a machine, vibrating in harmony with underground energy. It sounds far-fetched, until you consider that modern wireless charging uses similar principles of magnetic resonance. Could the ancients have stumbled upon the same ideas through trial, ritual, or instinct? Across the ancient world, similarities appear. At Pumapunku in Bolivia, stones show perfect right angles and drill like boreholes, despite being thousands of years old. In Egypt, the Osirion's massive underground blocks seem out of place compared to the surrounding temple. Were these locations part of a global tradition, connected not by empire, but by understanding? If so, who passed on the knowledge? And why does it disappear so completely from the historical record? One possibility is that the knowledge was secret, held only by elites, and never written down. Another is that it was destroyed, wiped away by war, fire, or the slow erosion of time. Could there have been a cataclysm, something that shattered the ancient world and forced survivors to start over without their full legacy? If so, Baalbek may be not a starting point, but a surviving fragment. Some speculate that intent and consciousness itself played a role. Ancient mystics spoke of mind over matter and the power of focused thought. While science has yet to prove this, studies on intention and material response are ongoing. Could ancient builders have understood ways to synchronize human effort with natural energy? Could their rituals and chants have served not just spiritual purpose, but practical ones, aligning the group, generating resonance, and unlocking properties of the materials they worked with? While mainstream archaeology remains skeptical, history has shown that once dismissed ideas can later be validated. Roman concrete was forgotten for centuries before it was reverse-engineered. The Antikythera mechanism was considered a hoax until scanning revealed its function. Could Baalbek's mystery also await rediscovery, hidden in plain sight? If we strip away the assumptions of technological progress being a straight line, and instead consider that knowledge rises and falls in cycles, then Baalbek may represent the peak of a forgotten science, one rooted not in machines, but in harmony with earth, energy, and intention. If that's true, what might be possible if we remember what was lost? And what other ruins might still hold clues to an ancient world that was not behind us, but far ahead? Could sound, something invisible, weightless, and fleeting, have once moved the heaviest stones on earth? At Baalbek, where megaliths rest like frozen thunder, this question no longer sounds absurd. Instead, it echoes through the valley like a riddle left by an ancient hand. The theory of harmonic resonance suggests that every object vibrates at a natural frequency. Match it, and even the most solid matter begins to dance. Could the builders of Baalbek have known this? Could they have used sound not just for music or ritual, but to shift the impossible? Modern science hints at this possibility. In laboratories, small objects have been levitated using acoustic waves. Quartz crystals vibrate under pressure, powering watches and radios. Sound, when focused, can cut through metal or shatter glass. These are not fantasies, they are facts. So what happens when we turn this lens onto Baalbek? A site so massive that even today's machines would struggle to replicate its construction. Could the platform stones, some weighing over 800 tons, have been placed not by brute force, but by sound aligned with the very atoms of the earth? Some believe so. At the heart of this theory is a forgotten science of resonance. Ancient builders may have discovered that by tuning their voices, instruments, or chambers to certain frequencies, they could alter the behavior of stone itself. At Baalbek, there are reports of strange acoustics. Some corners of the temple reflect sound unusually sharply. The walls carry a faint echo, as if the stone were hollow or tuned. Could the entire site have been designed as an acoustic tool? Some suggest the three trilithon blocks form not just a foundation, but a resonating platform, a harmonic base that once hummed with energy. Could vibration have reduced the effective weight of the stones, making them easier to position with minimal force? In the ancient world, sound was sacred. Egyptian priests chanted in echo chambers to raise energy. Vedic texts described mantras that could move reality. In Tibet, monks still use throat singing to generate powerful resonance. Could these traditions preserve fragments of a lost technique? If so, who taught it? And why did it vanish? Some point to the design of Baalbek itself. The placement of stones, the spacing of columns, and the angles of the walls may not have been chosen for beauty, but for tone. Could the site have functioned like a giant instrument, amplifying sound to create lift or softening the molecular bonds of rock? Experiments by researchers like Dr. J. Davidovitz suggest that sound can influence chemical reactions in limestone. Others, like John Keeley in the 1800s, claimed to move heavy objects with tuned sound waves, though his devices have vanished. Are these scattered claims remnants of a truth once widely known? Local folklore speaks of music that could move mountains. In parts of Lebanon, old stories tell of a song of the earth, used to call stones into place. The words are long forgotten, but the idea lingers. In nearby Syria, myths describe temples built overnight by voices raised in unison. Could these myths remember the application of real techniques, not magic, but lost science? It's worth asking, why would so many ancient cultures link music with creation? Why would so many gods speak the world into being? Perhaps sound once had a power more practical than divine, one capable of shaping not just belief, but stone. If that's true, the implications ripple across history. Sites like Stonehenge, the Osirion, and Puma Punku share Baalbek's mystery. Massive stones, strange acoustics, and unknown means of construction. Could all these locations have used resonance? Could ancient builders have mapped Earth's frequencies and built accordingly, turning sacred geometry into soundscapes, monuments into instruments? If so, what were they tuning to? The Earth itself vibrates at a frequency known as the Schumann resonance, around 7.83 Hz. Some theorists believe ancient sites were aligned to this pulse, allowing builders to harmonize with the planet. Could Baalbek be one such node? The idea is bold, but not baseless. When sound engineers visited Baalbek in the early 2000s, they noted strange frequency spikes, unexplained by modern equipment. Could the stones be holding resonance from the past, or were they designed to channel it? If sound once lifted stone, who controlled it? Was it a priesthood, trained in the art of frequency? A caste of sonic engineers lost to time? Or something else entirely? An earlier civilization whose memory eroded, leaving only impossibilities behind? The questions rise like chants from the quarry. Why do the largest stones lie silent, unused, unfinished? Did the technique fail, or was it forbidden? Could the secret of sound have been too powerful, buried to protect, or forgotten after a great fall? And if someone were to rediscover it today, what could it change? Perhaps Baalbek is not just a ruin. Perhaps it is a code, a silent record of a time when stones sang, and sound could lift the world. Why would ancient builders create a foundation so vast, so heavy, and so perfectly level, that it surpasses all known necessity for the temple resting upon it? Baalbek's great platform remains one of the most over-engineered structures in antiquity, an enigma of scale and purpose. The Roman Temple of Jupiter, magnificent though it is, sits almost modestly upon it, as if it borrowed the strength of a forgotten age. Engineers have long wondered why the Romans, who recorded every feat of architecture in obsessive detail, never mentioned how they achieved this one. Could it be because they didn't? Could the foundation have already been there? An inheritance from a civilization that vanished before written memory began. The stones themselves whisper of something more than human ambition. The trilithon blocks at the western wall each weigh around 800 tons, carved and placed with precision that even today defies replication. Beneath them lies another layer, older, deeper, heavier still. The entire base is perfectly flat, spanning hundreds of feet, with joints so tight that even a modern blade cannot fit between them. Such effort seems excessive for mere worship. It feels instead like preparation for weight, vibration, pressure from above. Could Baalbek's true purpose have once been to bear something that descended from the sky? Legends surrounding the site stretch deep into prehistory. In ancient Canaanite myth, Baal, the storm god, was said to descend upon the mountain in a chariot of fire. Later Islamic tradition speaks of Solomon commanding the jinn to build a fortress where celestial beings once landed. Even older traditions, some traced to Mesopotamia, refer to the place of the rising gods, where winged beings came to earth. Could these myths preserve a memory of real encounters? If the ancients witnessed something beyond explanation, metallic, loud, radiant, they would describe it in the language of gods. The platform's scale and design seem to support such interpretations. Its massive stones could absorb vibration or resist shock, serving as a stabilizing bed for something immense. Theories propose it functioned like an ancient launch pad, a solid, conductive surface designed to ground or distribute energy. Modern engineers note its orientation and height would have offered both visibility and protection from tremors. Could this be evidence of technology beyond the comprehension of its inheritors? When Rome arrived, perhaps they found ruins already ancient, still humming faintly with mystery. The Temple of Jupiter might have been an act of domination or reverence, an attempt to overwrite the past with their own gods, while unknowingly preserving the foundation of another world. If Baalbek's base predates Rome, who built it, and for what reason? Some researchers have attempted to decode its alignments. The structure faces celestial coordinates connected not to Roman astrology but to much older star patterns. Could it have served as a marker for something descending from those constellations? The precision is uncanny. Each block fits not by chance but through a design that suggests vibration control. A damping of movement through interlocking mass. Perhaps the ancients understood principles of resonance that we rediscovered only recently in aerospace and sound engineering. Was Baalbek part of an ancient global network of sites, aligned not just by geography but by frequency? If it once transmitted or received energy, the massive stones might have acted as stabilizers for electromagnetic fields. Some theorists compare it to a harmonic base, a foundation tuned to the Earth's natural frequency. The flat surface, they say, wasn't ceremonial. It was functional, designed for contact. If something hovered above it, the energy transfer would have required no landing gear, no physical imprint. Perhaps that explains the absence of wear. Even in myth, Baalbek's connection to the sky persists. Locals call it the Fortress of the Giants, said to have been built before the flood. Legends claim the stones were moved by sound or light, not muscle. Others speak of flaming wheels resting there before rising again toward the heavens. Across time, different cultures, Phoenicians, Romans, Arabs, claimed the site, each layering their faith atop the last. Yet none could erase the sense that Baalbek was never truly theirs. Something older anchors it, something that looks up, not down. If we strip away centuries of worship and empire, what remains is a platform too perfect for its purpose, too vast for its age, and too silent for its story. The temple's columns, as grand as they are, seem like mere ornaments compared to the foundation's weight. What was meant to stand upon it? If not a temple, then perhaps a vessel, one that came from beyond our history. It's a thought both thrilling and unsettling. Could Baalbek have been built as an interface between earth and sky? A meeting place where ancient engineers, human or otherwise, bridged the distance between worlds? And if so, what happened to them? The Romans may have built their temple to contain that power, or to honor what they could not explain. Yet the stones beneath remain silent, unyielding, and perfect, unchanged by centuries of conquest. When the wind moves through Baalbek today, it hums softly along the stones. Some visitors say it feels like a vibration, a low resonance you sense in the bones rather than hear. Perhaps it is imagination, or perhaps it is memory, an echo of something vast that once came down to rest upon the mountain, leaving behind the greatest foundation on earth, waiting for a sky that might one day return. Could a hidden code lie beneath Baalbek's ancient stones, etched not in letters, but in numbers, ratios, and geometric alignments? The moment scholars began measuring the layout of Baalbek's platform and temple complex, they discovered something strange. The design was not random. Instead, it seemed to echo a set of proportions found not just in nature, but in art, architecture, and the cosmos itself. At the heart of these patterns was the golden ratio, an irrational number often represented as 1 to 1.618. This ratio appears in seashells, galaxies, DNA, and even the human body. But why would an ancient site carved from stone follow this divine proportion? Was it coincidence or deliberate knowledge? Could Baalbek's mysterious builders have been working with an understanding of mathematics far ahead of their time? Or were they simply following a pattern handed down from an even older civilization? When the base of the platform is mapped from above, the proportions align not only with the golden ratio, but also with the sacred geometry found in ancient mandalas, crop circle designs, and megalithic layouts across the world. Lines drawn between key points reveal harmonic triangles, circles within squares, and golden rectangles, forming shapes that seem too consistent to be accidental. Was Baalbek part of a global pattern, connected to sites like the Great Pyramid, Stonehenge, and Angkor Wat? Some researchers believe it was. If true, it raises a powerful question. Who passed this knowledge between cultures, oceans apart? Could there have been a lost civilization that taught sacred geometry to early builders across the world, then vanished without a trace? Others suggest the knowledge came not from Earth, but from the stars. Could the builders of Baalbek have received guidance from beings who saw the world differently, who understood how energy moved through shape and sound? The alignment of the Baalbek platform to celestial events further fuels these theories. Some of its key points align with solstices and lunar cycles, hinting that it may have been a star map carved in stone. Could it have acted as a calendar? Or was it more than that, a tuning tool, capable of harmonizing energy with the cosmos? The proportions at Baalbek are also found in classical architecture. From the Parthenon to Renaissance cathedrals, could this suggest a hidden lineage of architects and masons, preserving sacred math through the ages? And if so, did the Romans build their temple on top of Baalbek's platform, not just for convenience, but because they recognized its geometric power? Some believe the site was a kind of vibrational chamber, with angles and ratios designed to amplify sound, intention, or spiritual focus. Could ancient priests or engineers have used this space for ritual or resonance? The theory of harmonic resonance suggests certain geometric layouts can focus energy, just like a tuning fork. If Baalbek's base was designed with this in mind, then the builders were not just carving rock, they were creating frequency. Could the platform's design have once allowed it to interact with the Earth's natural energy field? Many ancient cultures believed in ley lines, subtle energy channels running beneath the ground. Baalbek's location intersects with several of these proposed lines. Could the site have been chosen for its position on this energetic grid? If so, then the geometry was not just for beauty. It was a blueprint for channeling power. Researchers measuring electromagnetic fields around Baalbek have recorded anomalies, slight shifts in charge and resonance that don't occur in the surrounding terrain. Could the platform still be active in some way? The idea seems wild, yet the data is hard to dismiss. Some even believe the large stones, especially the trilithon, were placed not just for weight, but for frequency control. Stones of that size could stabilize resonance, absorbing and distributing vibration. Could they have acted like ancient capacitors, holding energy in place? The concept is not new. In both Hindu and Egyptian architecture, certain chambers were said to sing, their shapes designed to echo specific tones. Baalbek may have shared this purpose. Could those who built it have used sound and geometry together to move stone, focus thought, or connect with the divine? Even the steps leading to the temple seem proportioned to match Fibonacci sequences, a mathematical pattern found in tree branches, hurricanes, and musical notes. Could the builders have understood something about rhythm and motion, shaping every stair to match natural movement? Perhaps worshippers walked in a pattern that reflected cosmic flow. Perhaps ceremony and space were one. There is even evidence that Baalbek's original layout formed an octagonal grid, similar to the flower of life, a symbol said to hold the blueprint of the universe. If this is true, could Baalbek be more than a temple? Could it be a message, written not in words, but in angles, circles, and stars? Some propose the site was designed as a place of transmission, a sacred interface between earth and sky, a structure built not for shelter, but for signal. What would it mean if Baalbek was once a beacon, not for people, but for the cosmos? Others wonder if the geometry itself holds a kind of consciousness, that when one walks within the proper ratios, when one stands at the crossing points of stone and line, something opens, some forgotten door between mind and matter. Could this explain the sense of awe so many report when visiting the site? Could the stones still remember their purpose, even after thousands of years? If so, then Baalbek is not just ancient, it is alive. A silent teacher waiting for someone to understand its language, the language of form, space, and sacred measure. The geometry remains, unmoved by war or time, but its meaning may still echo, just beneath the surface, just beyond the veil, waiting for the question that unlocks it all. At Baalbek, the stones speak louder than any inscription ever could, cut with precision, moved with purpose, and placed in silence. They rest in formation, yet carry no names. No script, no symbol, no carving reveals who shaped or lifted them. In an age when rulers and masons proudly marked their work, why does this platform remain mute? Could silence itself be the signature? Archaeologists have combed every corner of Baalbek in search of evidence, tool marks, scaffolding traces, work camps. But the site yields nothing. How could a civilization capable of raising 800-ton blocks vanish without a footprint? There are no tool fragments, no tombs of laborers, no discarded debris. Was this absence the result of humility or deliberate concealment? Could someone have erased all memory of the builders, clearing their mark from stone and story alike? The Romans, known for their record-keeping, left detailed inscriptions on the temple above, yet none mention the massive foundation beneath. Did they understand its origin, or did they inherit something they could not explain? It is possible they built upon a legacy so ancient that even their architects stood in awe of it. The deeper one looks, the more impossible it becomes to assign authorship. Beneath the Roman levels lie older stones, larger, heavier, and more precisely set. Each layer seems to descend not just in time, but in sophistication. Why would the earliest builders attempt feats their successors dared not repeat? Did they possess techniques we have forgotten? Or did they vanish before passing them on? And if so, why? In Egypt and Mesopotamia, archaeologists find chisel marks, quarry ramps, and tools scattered across the sands. But Baalbek holds no such record. Could the technology used have left no trace because it did not rely on tools at all? Theories whisper of resonance, magnetism, or sound-based lifting, forces capable of moving stone without friction. If so, could those who mastered them have guarded their methods in secrecy or ritual? When cataclysms came, did both people and knowledge disappear, leaving only the monument? Some suggest that Baalbek's anonymity was intentional, that the site's power required silence. To name the builders would have diluted its purpose. The absence of identity may have been a form of protection, a sacred anonymity, shielding wisdom from misuse. Others propose something darker, that later conquerors, perhaps even the Romans, erased older inscriptions to claim the site as their own, or to hide a truth too unsettling. Would a civilization so advanced have threatened the myths of empire? Could the platform's mystery have been rewritten into legend to contain it? Nearby, in the ancient quarry, lies the stone of the pregnant woman, an enormous block never moved from its cradle. Its perfection raises more questions than it answers. Why was it left behind if the builders could move others even larger? Did an event interrupt their work? Or was the stone meant to remain as a marker, a signature of absence? Some local traditions say the builders were giants. Others say they were spirits who vanished when their task was complete. Across cultures, such stories echo of beings who came, built, and disappeared. Could there be a memory of real people, misunderstood through time? Or is Baalbek itself the fossil of a forgotten epoch? The stillness of the platform feels intentional, like a monument designed to outlive its authors. Perhaps they believed that identity corrupts purity, that a creation meant for eternity must bear no human name. Yet silence can also conceal. Could this blankness be history's scar, evidence that someone once sought to rewrite the story of humanity's beginnings? If we erased every name, how would future ages remember us? Baalbek poses this question without words. The Romans, the Arabs, and later explorers, each interpreted it anew, layering belief over mystery. Still, none could penetrate the silence beneath. Even modern instruments reveal only geometry. No chambers, no scripts, no remains. It is as though the foundation itself resists interpretation, holding its secret by design. Some researchers speculate the stones were positioned to encode memory through architecture, each block a fraction of a greater pattern that once resonated with cosmic order. Could the missing inscriptions be less a loss and more a transformation, an intentional shift from written word to sacred form? The builders may have replaced letters with proportion, meaning with measure. If so, their identity persists in every alignment and every joint. Silence then becomes language, the oldest one of all. Baalbek endures like a riddle carved by those who never wanted to be found. It stands beyond pride or empire, untouched by centuries of conquest. Its vast blocks carrying no crest, no crown, no prayer. And in that void of ownership, it whispers to all who visit, "Who built me, and why?" Could their names have been erased to protect knowledge that humanity was not ready to bear? Or did they choose anonymity as the final act of mastery, knowing that perfection needs no author? Whatever truth lies buried beneath those stones, it continues to hum beneath the weight of time, reminding us that history is not only written by survivors, but also by those who knew how to disappear. What if Baalbek wasn't just built? It was spoken into existence, not as a building, but as a A message carved in stone, not meant for a single king or a passing age, but for the deep future. At first glance, the platform looks like a foundation, something made to hold something else. But when studied more closely, its proportions, patterns, and precision seem to speak with purpose. They hint at a story not told through words, but through measure, alignment, and intent. Could this silent colossus be trying to communicate across time? Unlike most ancient structures, Baalbek appears to overdeliver. Its foundation is too perfect, too large, too deliberate for what rests on top. Why would any builder go to such extremes for a structure they knew would be buried under another civilization's work? Could they have known their temple would one day disappear? Could they have planned for it? The platform's geometry echoes across cultures, ratios shared with the pyramids, angles seen in sacred symbols, and alignments that match not just stars but entire celestial events. If these features weren't practical, then what were they? Could they have been a language, a code, a key waiting to be turned? Scholars have begun to explore Baalbek, not just as a structure, but as a message encoded in form. They compare its layout to sacred texts, mandalas, and architectural diagrams from distant parts of the world. Repeated patterns suggest intentional design, while its silence suggests it was never meant to be interpreted by just one culture. Could this platform be a kind of universal signal, an anchor for human memory that does not depend on spoken language? Some believe the placement of the trilithon stones themselves is a clue. Arranged with millimeter-level precision, they form a platform that has never shifted. Why would stability on such a scale matter unless the structure was made to endure? Not for decades or centuries, but for millennia. Perhaps it was meant to survive the rise and fall of empires, to speak long after names and flags were dust. Could Baalbek have been built to outlast memory itself? There are even those who suggest it carries a warning. Like a beacon frozen in stone, it may tell of a past event, a flood, a war, a lost knowledge, and stand as a record that endures, even when books burn and stories fade. If so, what are we missing by focusing only on its size? Could its true power be hidden not in what it supports, but in what it says? If it is a message, then what kind of mind sent it? Was it the product of a forgotten human civilization, one that understood how to communicate through structure alone? Or could it have been guided by something beyond our past, beings whose sense of time and space differ from ours entirely? Could the builders have thought in centuries, in orbits, in galactic cycles? Perhaps the platform was designed to echo the rhythms of the Earth itself, a kind of architectural calendar, counting epochs rather than seasons. Certain corners of the site align not only with solar markers but with long-term astronomical changes, suggesting the builders tracked time in ways we no longer do. Could this be part of the message? A reminder that time moves in loops, and that what has happened once may happen again. If Baalbek is a record, what is it recording? Some propose it stores knowledge, mathematics, cosmology, and the principles of energy. In its proportions, that walking its length and tracing its lines mirrors a journey of discovery, one that unlocks ancient truths through form rather than instruction. Others say the site is energetic, that its structure amplifies or contains a frequency, a pulse meant to be felt rather than read. Could the message be vibrational, felt deep in the bones rather than seen with the eyes? Perhaps those who built it didn't need books, because the structure itself was the teaching. This idea echoes traditions from other ancient sites, where initiates were trained not through writing, but through movement, sound, and sacred geometry. Could Baalbek have served the same role, a school without words, a library of stone? Yet if it was a message, why so few clues? Why not one symbol, one marking, one image to guide the way. Could it be that the platform wasn't made to be interpreted by the ordinary mind? That only those attuned to certain knowledge or disciplines would begin to decode its language? This brings a chilling thought. What if we're not meant to understand it yet? What if the builders timed their message not for their present, or even ours, but for a future era with the tools to unlock it? Could the platform be like a time capsule, activated not by a key, but by a species reaching a certain stage of awareness? And if so, are we close to that moment now? Could our recent ability to scan, model, and measure ancient structures with precision be part of what finally opens the message? Baalbek's location also raises questions. Perched high on the edge of ancient trade routes, surrounded by mountains and sky, it stands alone. No city grew beside it. No river flows nearby. Why here? Could its placement have been part of the message too? A signpost pointing to something we've missed? Or was its isolation the very reason it was chosen? A neutral place where meaning could rest undisturbed. Some believe Baalbek connects to other megalithic sites through a global grid, a geometric network linking ancient structures across continents. If that's true, then Baalbek may be one piece in a much larger message. A sentence in a stone language spoken across the world. Are we meant to read it together with the pyramids, Stonehenge, Tiwanaku, and others as parts of a lost global dialogue? The idea is bold, but not without pattern. And in patterns, messages often hide. Could the builders have known that only when all the pieces were seen together would the message reveal itself? Or are we still missing key fragments? As the world digs deeper and listens more closely, Baalbek remains still. But perhaps stillness is the signal. In a world of noise, the silent message carved into this massive platform waits. Not for one culture, but for all who are willing to ask, not just how, but why. Across continents, far from Baalbek, other stones whisper the same riddle, massive, deliberate, and seemingly misplaced in time. In Bolivia, high in the Andes, Pumapunku holds stones shaped with such precision that modern tools would struggle to replicate them. In Egypt, deep behind the temple of Seti I, the Osirion rests in a sunken pit, built from red granite blocks, weighing over 200 tons. These sites, like Baalbek, appear to have no clear origin story. Their scale, symmetry, and silence point to something older, something forgotten. But are they truly isolated wonders, or fragments of a single lost legacy? The resemblance between them is more than visual. Each used stones far heavier than needed. At Baalbek, the trilithon stones exceed 800 tons. At Pumapunku, the H-shaped blocks are intricately carved with straight lines, internal angles, and interlocking grooves. The Osirion's foundation was set with monoliths so large they defy explanation with the tools of the time. Why, across such distant lands, would ancient builders choose the hardest and heaviest materials and shape them with precision, still difficult today? Could these feats have come from a shared source of knowledge, now lost to time? Some believe these megalithic sites are connected through more than just design. They may belong to a global tradition that predates recorded history, a network of master builders, or a forgotten civilization that left its marks in stone. But if this global link existed, who carried the knowledge? Could survivors of a great catastrophe have spread their skills across the world, leaving behind echoes in Egypt, South America, Lebanon, and beyond? What force scattered their legacy, leaving only fragments behind? Terrain offers another mystery. Baalbek's megaliths were hauled uphill. The Osirion's granite came from Aswan, hundreds of kilometers to the south. Pumapunku's blocks crossed a lake and mountain pass. Why build in such hard places? Why not settle closer to resources? Could these locations have held spiritual or energetic importance that justified the effort? Or did the builders possess a kind of transportation knowledge now completely forgotten? Some researchers map these sites onto a global grid, a geometric lattice, where sacred sites align with mathematical consistency. If this grid theory holds, then these structures might mark energetic nodes, places where Earth's natural forces concentrate. Could the builders have known how to harness these energies for spiritual or technological use? Or were they using the planet itself as a canvas for something larger? A map, a pattern, a code. Construction methods deepen the mystery. Baalbek's trilithon stones fit together without mortar, yet resist time and tremors. At Puma Punku, the blocks are cut to interlock like puzzle pieces. The Osirion's walls, though submerged, remain intact. Such craftsmanship implies not only technical skill, but planning far beyond what ancient cultures are thought to have achieved. Could advanced tools or energy-based lifting methods have played a role? And if so, what became of them? Why have we found no traces of these lost technologies? Legends may offer clues. The Incas said that Viracocha raised the stones at Puma Punku using sound or thought. Egyptian tales describe the Osirion as the work of gods during the Zep Tepi, the first time. In Lebanon, some traditions link Baalbek to the giants or to King Solomon's magical builders. Could these myths be distorted memories of a time when humans, or something else, moved stone with forces we no longer understand? If myths contain truths, what truths have we missed by dismissing them? Symbolism adds yet another layer. Many of these sites share common motifs: sun symbols, serpent forms, cosmic alignment. Their layouts echo constellations or sacred numbers. Baalbek's platform holds geometric precision. Puma Punku's layout may mirror star maps. The Osirion's symmetry aligns with Orion. Were these structures meant to reflect the heavens? Could they have served as observatories, calendars, or gateways to something greater? What message were they sending, and to whom? One theory suggests these sites are not buildings, but beacons. Their size, placement, and design may have been meant to attract attention, not from humans, but from the skies. If Baalbek was a landing site, as some propose, could these others have served the same role? Could a global pattern of sky ports have been left behind by beings beyond our comprehension? Or were they simply temples, places where Earth touched the divine in stone? Modern tools allow us to scan and compare like never before. High-resolution satellite imagery and digital modeling show how these ancient sites relate not just to each other, but to planetary harmonics and magnetic fields. If the builders knew of such things, then our history is far more advanced and far more mysterious than we've been taught. Could our rediscovery of these patterns mean we're approaching a forgotten threshold once again? The builders of Baalbek may never be named, but their style is echoed in stone across the world. From the Andes to the Nile to the Bekaa Valley, a similar hand seems to have touched rock, lifted it, and placed it with meaning. Perhaps the megaliths are not only physical feats, but messages in shape and weight, in placement and silence. The question is whether we are ready to hear them, and if we are, what will they finally reveal? Scattered across continents, under layers of soil and time, lie patterns that refuse to be coincidence. Baalbek's massive foundation, once thought to stand alone in its mystery, now seems to echo other ancient sites across the world. In Egypt, the angles of the Great Pyramid reflect celestial harmony. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats rose from sacred geometry. In the Indus Valley, advanced city planning showed an understanding of ratios and precision rarely matched until modern times. But what if these weren't independent breakthroughs? What if they were fragments of a single, forgotten blueprint, spread across the globe like pieces of a puzzle, waiting to be seen together? Baalbek's platform, with its oversized stones and perfect alignment, bears silent resemblance to structures thousands of miles away. Could these echoes suggest a deeper link, one carried not by chance, but by shared design? And if so, who, or what, was the source of that design? Some researchers have begun comparing the dimensions, alignments, and proportions of these ancient places, uncovering similar ratios that reflect both astronomical and geodetic knowledge. The platform at Baalbek may appear chaotic at first glance, but its measurements hint at intentional order, with dimensions that mirror sacred numbers found in temples from Luxor to Mohenjo-Daro. Could it be that ancient builders followed a master plan, one passed down or remembered across cultures and languages? Or were they each tapping into a knowledge field now buried beneath our own layers of understanding? Even the layout of the Baalbek site, with its elevated terrace and retaining walls, resembles platforms found in Peru and Easter Island, sites also known for strange stonework and unexplained origins. Could the shared features point to a global school of architecture? If these weren't just temples or cities but energetic centers, was there once a civilization, or a priesthood, that knew how to balance earth, sky, and stone in harmony? Could this knowledge have been intentionally distributed, like seeds, to ensure that its wisdom would not be lost even if the culture behind it fell? The deeper the comparisons go, the stranger the links become. The Great Pyramid and Baalbek both share orientation with true north. The Osirion, like Baalbek, sits partially underground, preserving an older structure beneath a newer one. In the Indus Valley, buildings followed a grid pattern aligned with cardinal directions, using advanced drainage systems and modular designs. None of these civilizations, according to official history, were in contact. Yet their works suggest a shared obsession with order, precision, and cosmic alignment. What force guided this convergence? Could memory survive without writing? Could oral traditions or symbolic geometry have carried the seed of a forgotten science across generations, continents, and oceans? Some point to the possibility of an antediluvian civilization, a people who flourished long before known history, who mastered the laws of earth and sky, and who scattered after a global disaster. Is it possible that Baalbek was one of their strongholds? Could it have been built according to an ancient plan, one so advanced that even Rome could only build on top of it, not match it? And if so, where else did they build? Might there be hidden structures still buried beneath sand, forest, or sea, waiting to reveal more pieces of the plan? Researchers have begun mapping these sites according to planetary geometry. When placed on a globe, some lie along great circles, pathways that may reflect Earth's energy or consciousness fields. If Baalbek fits into this alignment, then its placement was no accident. Was it chosen not just for its view or its location on a trade route, but because it sat on a node of power? If the Earth's surface holds natural lines of force, then ancient builders may have learned to build where those lines met. Could Baalbek, like Stonehenge or Teotihuacan, be one of these ancient power points, part of a global circuit designed to do more than worship? Could these sites have functioned like tuning forks, resonating with the planet itself? Or were they calendars, clocks, or even message boards meant to last through time? The mystery deepens when scholars compare the symbols left behind. Across the ancient world, spirals, serpents, sun disks, and sacred triangles appear on stones and walls. Some are carved into lintels, others into doorways, others into massive stone blocks like those found at Baalbek. Could these symbols be keys, universal markers of a shared knowledge system? Or were they signatures of a lost guild of architects who left no names but embedded their message in geometry? What knowledge did they wish to pass on, And why cloak it in symbols instead of speech? The silence of Baalbek becomes louder when placed beside these global echoes. It's not just the weight of the stones, or their impossible placement. It's the feeling that they are part of something larger, older, and more deliberate than anyone has dared admit. If a master blueprint once existed, who designed it? Was it passed from gods to men, from stars to earth, or born from a human mind that remembered something long lost? Could it have included mathematics we no longer use? Measurements based on cosmic cycles? Or alignments based on star movements no longer visible? Could it be that the ancient world understood something about the fabric of reality that we are only now beginning to rediscover? The more the patterns are studied, the clearer the message becomes. There is a system beneath the myth, a code written in stone, hidden in symmetry, buried in proportions and placement. Baalbek may be one chapter in that system, but it's a loud one. Its stones, massive and silent, seem to say, "This was not random, this was not local, this was once part of something whole." And if we listen closely, we may hear not just the echoes of ancient tools, but the faint rhythm of a forgotten order that once wrapped around the world. The great question that lingers beneath Baalbek's stones isn't just how they were placed, but what became of those who placed them. If a civilization once walked this land with the knowledge to carve, lift, and align stones the size of train engines, then why did they leave no clear trace of themselves? Could they have vanished? Or did they simply go where few would think to look, beneath the earth itself? All across the ancient world, myths whisper of powerful beings or peoples who disappeared suddenly, sometimes due to war, sometimes by choice, and sometimes in response to catastrophe. In the lands around Baalbek, stories of a great flood, a sky fire, or a long darkness repeat across generations. Some speak of survivors who fled into the mountains, others tell of sacred knowledge, hidden in caves or vaults deep below, and still others suggest something even stranger, that the builders of Baalbek did not die, but descended into vast underground realms carved with the same precision as the stones above. Could Baalbek have been more than a temple platform? Might it have been the visible capstone of a subterranean complex? In the shadow of the Trilithon, local tales often mention underground chambers and tunnels that no one has dared map fully. Could those stories reflect real spaces, sealed off long ago for reasons lost to time? Some researchers believe that ancient peoples understood the dangers of cosmic cycles and prepared for cataclysm by building down, not up. Could Baalbek have functioned as a kind of lock or signal marker for something hidden below? And if its builders knew what was coming, did they leave voluntarily, hoping to return when the surface was once again safe? Or did they never return at all? There are sites across the planet, Derinkuyu in Turkey, the Hypogeum in Malta, the underground cities of Cappadocia, that show ancient cultures had the means and reasons to build deep beneath the soil. These places weren't just storage areas, they were complex, ventilated, and carefully planned. Could the same be true beneath Baalbek? And if so, who was it built for? Who lived there? Or still might? The idea of subterranean civilizations may seem like fantasy, yet echoes of it appear in cultures from India to South America. Hindu texts speak of the Patala, realms below the surface where advanced beings dwell. In Mesoamerican myths, the first humans emerged from caves. In Andean legends, a race of sky people retreated beneath the earth to escape a global fire. Could these scattered stories reflect a common memory, a time when the surface was unsafe, and those with knowledge hid it, along with themselves, below the reach of destruction? Some theories even suggest that certain areas of Baalbek emit strange magnetic anomalies, hinting at hollow spaces or materials beneath. While no public excavation has confirmed this, some believe that certain access points have long been sealed, perhaps during later Roman or Byzantine construction. Was that sealing meant to protect or to conceal? Could later empires have discovered part of what lay beneath and chosen to bury the truth? If the builders of Baalbek had access to advanced tools or energy, would they have preserved it underground, far from the reach of curious eyes? Could their disappearance have been not an end, but a retreat? Could Baalbek's massive stones have been intended as a warning or a signal, a way to mark the spot for future return? If we look closely at the myths of King Solomon, often linked with this region, they too speak of beings bound underground, jinn imprisoned in sealed vessels or beneath stones. Might that be a symbolic echo of something deeper, both literally and metaphorically? Could the builders of Baalbek have become the very gods or spirits that legends say now sleep beneath the earth? And if their disappearance was due to a cataclysm, what kind of event would be powerful enough to erase such a people from history? Ice, fire, flood, or a war that was not fought with swords, but with knowledge and forces we no longer understand? The sudden halt in construction at Baalbek's quarry, the unfinished stones, the lack of inscriptions, all hint at disruption. Something stopped the work. Something silenced the site. Could that silence be the result of mass death, migration, or something more deliberate, an erasure from the records of mankind? In recent decades, explorers have found strange anomalies under ruins in other parts of the world. Deep cavities, smooth tunnels, sealed shafts. Could similar features exist beneath Baalbek? Some even believe that technology once stored underground may still lie dormant, waiting for a time when it is safe or necessary to return. If true, Baalbek's stones are not just architecture. They are guardians, markers, anchors for something hidden beneath. The absence of written records from its original builders becomes more puzzling in this context. Could they have operated on a system that didn't use writing as we know it? Could knowledge have been stored in the architecture itself, or passed through symbol, vibration, or memory? And if so, would that explain why so many cultures preserved stories of people disappearing underground, carrying knowledge with them? What if Baalbek wasn't meant to be inhabited on the surface at all, but to serve as an access point or interface with something below? Could the silence of Baalbek be deliberate? A veil drawn by those who didn't vanish, but simply stepped out of sight? If that's true, where are they now? Are they still watching, waiting, or long gone, leaving only the bones of stone behind to whisper of their past? Could it be that the ultimate purpose of Baalbek was never meant for human eyes? Or worse, meant to be forgotten? As we stand on its giant platform, feeling the hum of mystery beneath our feet, we are left with the most haunting question of all. What if they're still down there, listening? Some ruins tell stories, others might conduct energy. At Baalbek, the idea that stone could act like a conductor isn't just fantasy. It's a theory gaining momentum. The platform's massive blocks, shaped from dense limestone and granite, rest on a spot, whispered to hum with invisible power. Could it be these stones weren't chosen only for their strength or size, but for their ability to interact with the earth itself? Theories of telluric currents, natural electric flows beneath the surface, suggest that ancient builders may have known how to read, direct, or amplify this energy. Baalbek's location, its orientation, and the type of materials used all point towards something more than ritual or visual grandeur. Was it a node on a forgotten global grid? Some researchers propose that these currents, combined with specific crystal content in the stones, could allow a kind of ancient energy system to form. Piezoelectric effects, where pressure on certain materials produces an electrical charge, occur naturally in quartz-rich rock. The granite used in megalithic construction often contains this very mineral. Could the immense weight of Baalbek stones have been part of a machine that once pulsed with low-frequency power? If so, who understood these principles in an age before recorded science? And more curiously, why has that knowledge disappeared? The foundation at Baalbek isn't just massive, it's precise. Stones fit with such closeness that not even a blade can pass between them. Some believe this tight connection wasn't just structural. It may have served to conduct vibrational or electric energy across the entire platform. Could the purpose of this monument have been less religious and more technological? Some even suggest the platform acted like a capacitor, storing and focusing natural earth energy for unknown uses. Was Baalbek once used to power something, activate something, or even send something? Ancient legends from the region describe gods descending from the heavens in fire and light. Could those stories be memories of a time when power flowed not from wires, but from stone? There are sites across the world that seem to mirror this pattern. From Stonehenge to Machu Picchu, high-altitude sites placed with precision often sit on known telluric hotspots. Could Baalbek have been one piece of a vast energy network that connected these sacred locations like points in a forgotten circuit? Some fringe researchers suggest the Earth itself was once used as a power source, not just for light or heat, but for communication, healing, or even transport. Were the ancients tapping into something we've only just begun to rediscover? And if Baalbek's builders did harness energy, where did they direct it? Were there structures, now lost, that received this power? Or was the platform itself the receiver, waiting for a signal from above or below? Its flattened surface and central positioning lead some to speculate it may have once supported a massive device or structure, long gone or buried. Could the platform be the base of a vanished tower or machine? Could the temple above have been a disguise or a late addition, built atop something much older, much more powerful? The lack of carbon scoring, soot, or burn marks raises another question. If rituals involving fire had taken place there for centuries, why are the stones so clean? Could it be they weren't meant to bear flame, but frequency? Some theorists suggest that when sound, pressure, and alignment are combined with specific materials, energy can be moved wirelessly. This idea isn't new. Nikola Tesla once dreamed of wireless power sent through the Earth itself. Could Baalbek be proof that someone else had done it long before? The angles of the platform, some claim, align with magnetic and telluric fields, not just celestial bodies. This is not architecture by accident. It reflects intent, calibration, perhaps even calibration for resonance. Could these choices indicate a knowledge of Earth's invisible forces? Some have pointed to Baalbek's possible connection with Earth's ley lines, hypothetical paths of energy crisscrossing the globe, linking ancient sites. If these lines exist, and Baalbek sits on one, might that be why the site was chosen? Was it not just a place of beauty or command, but of flow? And what did those flows power, if anything at all? Could the very presence of people at Baalbek, in mass ritual or movement, have been a form of energy activation, where living bodies helped channel the Earth's charge upward or downward? Might the original builders have known how to amplify human energy through stone, intention, and geometry? If the site functioned as part of an ancient grid, what other locations did it connect to? Could synchronized activity across multiple sites create effects we can no longer imagine? Weather shifts, frequency changes, or even shifts in consciousness. Some researchers speculate that the purpose of such a grid was not mechanical, but metaphysical. Could Baalbek have been a tuning fork for the human mind, a place where the physical and spiritual world aligned? If so, what have we lost by not understanding it? What happens when a circuit is broken? Does the silence we now feel at Baalbek reflect a system shut down? And if that system were turned on again, would we even recognize it? The shape, mass, and material of Baalbek's stones seem chosen not just for endurance, but for transmission. Could there be a forgotten science hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to ask the right questions? Why does the platform feel more like a base than a destination? Why do visitors speak of strange sensations or shifts in mood when standing on certain points? Is this folklore? Or are the stones still humming, even faintly, with residual charge? Could measurements with modern tools reveal patterns that hint at a purpose beyond worship? If a civilization once knew how to use the earth as a source of clean, wireless energy, why did that knowledge vanish? Was it suppressed, lost in disaster, or hidden to protect it from falling into the wrong hands? What if Baalbek is not just a monument of the past, but a clue for the future? A reminder that stone, when shaped with intent and placed with wisdom, can carry more than just memory. It can carry power. The ancient quarry near Baalbek holds a riddle carved in stone, not just for its size, but for its silence. Among the weeds and sunlit dust, 3 monoliths rest in strange stillness: the stone of the pregnant woman, the stone of the south, and the largest of all, a block estimated to weigh over 1,600 tons. These giants were cut with great care, shaped almost fully, then inexplicably left behind. Why were they never moved? Why begin such impossible work only to abandon it partway? Some say the builders faced disaster, perhaps a sudden quake, war, or plague, but no signs of destruction or haste remain at the site. Others whisper of sabotage, internal collapse, or a vanished knowledge that once made the impossible routine. Could the workers have reached a technological threshold, a limit even they could not cross? If so, what was different about these last stones? Were they simply too heavy to move, even for a civilization skilled in megalithic transport, or did something greater intervene? The effort required to cut, level, and prepare such stones suggests clear purpose. These blocks were not mistakes. They were part of a plan that stopped mid-breath. Why? Some believe the terrain may have shifted, soil collapsed, or water seeped in. But even these theories fail to explain the sheer precision that remained unfulfilled. What if these monoliths weren't abandoned in failure, but left in place for a reason? Could they have been tests, warnings, or resonant objects meant to stay connected with the earth? Were they once vibrating with sound, weight, or energy? If so, did their power fade, or did someone silence them? The quarry's location and its nearness to Baalbek's platform raise a striking question. The trilithon stones in the temple's foundation are smaller than the largest block still in the quarry. So how were the platform stones moved and placed, yet the quarry stones were not? Could the earlier builders have used techniques now lost to time, available only for a short window before something interrupted their work? Theories suggest acoustic levitation, harmonic lifting, or even advanced pulley systems powered by energy we don't understand. But if these existed, what caused them to stop? Could a cosmic shift, perhaps in the Earth's magnetic field or in celestial alignment, have shut off access to these forces? Could the builders have relied on natural phenomena that only occur under specific conditions? Or were they drawing power from Baalbek itself? And when that power waned, so did their ability to complete the job. Stories from the region speak of giants, jinn, and star beings. In these tales, powerful beings fled or vanished after completing parts of great works. Could Baalbek be one of those sites? Were the final stones meant to be used, but left when the entities behind their shaping vanished? Some legends speak of a celestial war, of beings that once walked the earth and built with ease, now long gone. Could Baalbek's quarry be one of many ancient battlegrounds where the tools of power were abandoned, sealed away, or rendered useless? The fact that these blocks were never broken down, reused, or repurposed by later cultures is strange in itself. Even the Romans, masters of stone and empire, left them alone. Was it fear, reverence, or confusion? Could it be that something about these stones made them untouchable? Might they contain markers, vibrations, or inscriptions long since erased by wind and time? Or is their shape itself the message, unfinished giants left to challenge the ages? Around the world, other sites show similar patterns. An unfinished obelisk in Egypt, half-carved pillars in Turkey, cut stones abandoned in the Andes. Are these coincidences, or do they point to a shared story? Could it be that a global project once spanned continents and was halted at the same time for the same unknown reason? If Baalbek was part of a larger network, was its expansion interrupted by a forgotten event, a flood, a war, or a shift in planetary resonance? Some suggest the stones were left behind not as failures, but as markers. Could they have served as silent sentinels, each one tuned to the ground beneath it, holding memory like a disk waiting to be read? Or were they like keys to a machine no longer running, waiting for something, or someone, to return and finish the task? The placement of the largest stone in the quarry shows an unusual alignment, pointing directly toward the temple site. Could this orientation reflect a larger design, now broken? If these blocks were part of an advanced platform expansion, what was the intended function? Was it meant to hold another layer, a different kind of structure, or even something airborne? Could the quarry stones have been designed as mounts or bases for devices we no longer possess? Or was the entire effort symbolic, a gesture of control over the land, a message to future generations that their builders had command of the impossible? What happened between the first cut and the final pause? Did a great leader die? Was a sacred pact broken? Could celestial charts have shifted, making the project spiritually invalid? Or did something darker occur? Knowledge suppressed, wisdom erased, so that what began in light was sealed in silence. The wind passes over the stone faces now, and the sun casts long shadows across their length. Tourists photograph them, scholars measure, but the original voice, the intent behind their creation, remains locked inside the stone. Some believe that one day, as frequencies rise and human awareness shifts, the purpose of these monoliths will awaken once more. Until then, they lie still, reminders of hands that once dared to command mountains, and of questions carved too deep for easy answers. What if the true meaning of Baalbek was never in its size, but in its alignment? In recent years, researchers have begun to notice something strange about the orientation of the massive stone platform and its surrounding layout. When studied closely, certain angles seem to point not at neighboring mountains or rivers, but toward the sky. Ancient cultures around the world built in harmony with the stars, from the pyramids of Giza to the stone circles of Britain. Could Baalbek belong to the same cosmic tradition? And if so, which stars did it follow? Satellite imagery and archaeoastronomy models suggest that Baalbek's axis may align with key points in the sky, specifically the rising points of Sirius, Orion's belt, and possibly even the Pleiades. If this alignment is intentional, then it implies that the builders of Baalbek were not only engineers of stone, but observers of the heavens. Could the entire platform have been designed as part of a star map? Might it have functioned as a calendar, a navigation guide, or even a beacon? Why would a structure of this magnitude need to sync with celestial bodies, unless its purpose reached far beyond Earth? The ancient world treated the sky as sacred. Many believed that gods, spirits, or ancestors lived among the stars. If Baalbek was a platform to the heavens, then who, or what, was it built to receive? Some believe that the temple structures later added by the Romans obscured an older design, one more focused on the stars than on rituals. Could the original platform have been built not for worship, but for contact? Did its massive stones and precise lines act like a cosmic dial, tuned to a moment in the sky when certain constellations rose in unison? Was this site used to mark solstices, equinoxes, or more hidden celestial events like precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis across millennia? If so, then Baalbek's builders must have possessed deep astronomical knowledge. Where did it come from? Could a lost civilization have tracked star cycles across centuries, embedding that data into stone? And if that's true, why hide it beneath newer temples? Why bury the sky beneath the earth? Some suggest that Baalbek is part of a forgotten tradition of megalithic astronomy, where buildings were constructed not just with stone, but with time in mind. Patterns found in the layout of the site mirror ratios used in ancient sky lore, numbers tied to the moon's orbit, Venus's cycle, and the precession of the equinoxes. Could these codes be part of a message? If Baalbek was sending something skyward, was it information, energy, or intention? And who, or what, was supposed to receive it? The builders left no writings, no instructions, no symbols carved into the platform's base. Only the stars remained. Could it be that the message is only readable from above? Perhaps what we see on Earth is just the reverse side of a greater design. Something meant to be viewed from the sky, or even from orbit. This theory gained momentum when aerial photography revealed geometric relationships between Baalbek and other ancient sites. Some proposed a global network of sky-linked structures, each pointing to stars, and each built in stone. Could Baalbek have been the centerpiece of that grid? If the site encodes star maps, then maybe it also records events, comets, eclipses, or alignments that marked ages. Was Baalbek a time capsule, its platform a snapshot of the sky at a key moment in history? If so, when was that moment? Was it 10,000 years ago, or even further back, during a forgotten age when the sky looked different? Could the layout of Baalbek reflect not just star positions, but celestial changes, shifts in our orbit, tilts in our axis, or signs of something that once approached Earth from beyond? Some propose that Baalbek's angles do not point to stars as they are now, but as they once were. If true, this would mean that the builders had knowledge of stellar drift, something modern science only confirmed in recent centuries. How could they have known? Who tracked the skies so precisely without telescopes? Was the knowledge passed down from an earlier culture, one destroyed before history began? Or was it gifted, as some myths suggest, by beings who came from the sky themselves? In Mesopotamian and Phoenician tradition, the gods were starborn, their temples echoing the heavens. Baalbek, named for Baal, the sky deity, may have once been seen as a literal bridge between realms. Could the name itself be a clue? Baalbek, house of the Lord. Was the Lord the god of thunder, of sky, of stars, or something else entirely? Something not of this earth. Some scholars point out that if Baalbek had a sacred alignment, it may have served as a ritual gate, a place where star positions determined when a portal or ceremony could open. Could there have been moments when the sky and earth lined up perfectly, unlocking energy or access? What if those who built Baalbek knew of cycles longer than lifetimes, patterns that marked the rise and fall of ages, when stars opened paths not just in the heavens, but in consciousness? Could the stones have encoded reminders for future watchers, signs to look for when the sky turns just right again? And if that moment returns, would anyone be listening? Would we understand what the platform once pointed toward? Or has time buried its meaning too deep beneath temples and names? The sky still turns above Baalbek. Its stars shine as they did long ago, moving ever so slowly. Perhaps one day, the alignment will come again, and maybe then, the map etched into stone will speak once more, revealing the code, the message, and the reason this mountain of stone rises toward the stars. There is something deeply unsettling about what lies beneath Baalbek, not just in stone, but in silence. While tourists gaze up at the towering columns and massive platforms, few realize that the real mystery may rest beneath their feet, locked away in darkness. For decades, whispers have circled among archaeologists, locals, and researchers about sealed chambers hidden deep under the ancient foundation, vaults never excavated, rooms never mapped, doors never opened. Could there be forgotten spaces filled with clues, tools, or even a time capsule from a lost civilization? Theories say yes. These rumors speak of rooms carved into the bedrock, with smooth floors and perfect angles, spaces so old and so undisturbed that even nature has forgotten their scent. Some claim they were designed not by Romans, but by those who came long before, whose touch could move mountains. But why are they still sealed? Why has no modern dig dared to peel back the floor of the platform and uncover what rests below? Is it caution or fear? Engineers who studied the site warned that opening such vaults could damage the fragile equilibrium of the stones above. But others suggest something more intentional, a quiet agreement among authorities to keep the lower levels hidden. What if the real secret of Baalbek is not what was built above, but what was buried beneath? Could these chambers hold records of the builders themselves, tools made from unknown alloys, or writing systems never seen before? And if these were found, would they fit our timeline of history, or shatter it completely? What if those who placed the stones above did so not as decoration, but as guardians of what lay below? Some point to ancient stories from the region, myths that speak of sacred vaults sealed with curses, guarded by spirits or jinn, where knowledge was locked away to protect the world. Is it possible that Baalbek is one of these places? That beneath its platform sleeps something humanity was never meant to touch? Satellite scans and ground-penetrating radar have shown strange voids beneath the surface, spaces that do not align with Roman construction patterns. These anomalies suggest tunnels or chambers running beneath the trilithon itself. Why are these voids not being explored? Some say permits are denied. Others claim that when attempts were made to investigate further, equipment failed, teams pulled back, or data vanished. Could something be interfering with the investigation? Or are human hands behind the silence, enforcing secrecy for reasons unknown? Local guides sometimes point to a strange vibration felt when standing over certain points in the temple grounds. Could these subtle hums be signs of energy pulsing beneath the floor? Or are they just tricks of old stone and wind? Still, the consistency of such reports raises questions. Why would different people, from different walks of life, feel the same pulse, in the same place, year after year? Some believe the builders left behind more than walls and blocks. They believe something was buried, something alive in purpose, if not in form. Could it be a power source, a relic, a piece of technology beyond our understanding, or even a repository of memory, etched into metal or crystal, recording a history that predates all known civilizations? If so, why keep it sealed? Were the builders afraid of who might find it? Or were they simply waiting for someone worthy to understand it? The more one studies Baalbek, the more its platform feels like a lid, a cover, a lock. Could the trilithon itself be part of a sealing mechanism, weighted not just for strength, but for containment? The idea seems wild, but the absence of exploration only feeds the flame. In a world where ancient sites are dug, mapped, and catalogued with fierce ambition, Baalbek remains strangely untouched beneath its surface. What is everyone afraid of finding? Some believe the original builders knew of cycles, catastrophes that reset humanity's progress every few thousand years. Could the chambers be bunkers? Arks of knowledge designed to survive global disasters, waiting to be reopened when the time was right. And if that moment has now arrived, are we ready to face what they left behind? Or will fear keep us circling the surface, never brave enough to break the seal? Others point to alignments between Baalbek and underground sites in Egypt, Turkey, and Peru. Could there be a global network of sealed chambers, each guarding a piece of a forgotten truth? And if Baalbek is one of the final keys, why has no one turned it? What if the builders still exist, watching from afar or hiding below? Could their legacy continue beneath the stone, untouched, undisturbed, but waiting for the stars to align, waiting for someone who remembers the old codes, someone who can read the geometry and listen to the hum of the earth beneath the floor? Perhaps the sealed chambers of Baalbek are not just vaults of stone, but mirrors of our hesitation, spaces we fear to enter because deep down, we know they hold more than artifacts. They hold answers, and answers demand change. In a world comfortable with timelines and tidy myths, the opening of such a chamber could unravel everything. Or it could light a path to who we were before the flood, before the fire, before the forgetfulness. So the stones remain silent, the vaults remain sealed, and the question lingers like a breath between the walls. What sleeps beneath Baalbek? And who will be the first to wake it? What kind of truth would someone build with stones that could outlast kingdoms, storms, and even memory? If Baalbek was created to preserve something, it wasn't just stonework or tribute to a god. It was a fortress of time itself. The deeper we dig, not into the earth but into the layers of meaning, the more we begin to see a pattern, a plan. From the scale of the trilithon to the untouched vaults rumored below, from its impossible geometry to its celestial alignments, every piece of Baalbek suggests that it was not meant to impress, but to endure. But endure for what purpose? Why pour so much skill and energy into a platform that holds up little more than a ruined temple? The answer may not be in the structure itself, but in the idea it guards. Could it be that Baalbek was built as a safeguard, a place to anchor human memory across time, long after paper burned and digital clouds dissolved into dust? And if so, whose memory were they trying to preserve? This question touches the core of what Baalbek might really be. A message in stone, coded for the far future. Throughout ancient traditions, memory was sacred. Not just personal memory, but the collective memory of peoples, origins, and catastrophes. Myths from Sumer to Egypt spoke of floods, fires, sky wars, and fallen stars. Events too massive to be passed down in words alone. Could Baalbek be one of the last repositories built to hold that knowledge, in a way no disaster could erase? Consider the scale again. The trilithon blocks, nearly 900 tons each, are too large for any written record or scroll. Their very size becomes the message. This mattered. This had to last. It's as if the builders designed it, not for people of their time, but for civilizations far ahead, perhaps even for us. But what if it's not just about remembering? What if it's about protecting something from being forgotten on purpose? Could Baalbek be a defense, not only against time, but against censorship? In every age, truths have been buried, rewritten, or erased to serve power. What if Baalbek's silence speaks of a story that someone wanted to erase, but couldn't? The lack of inscriptions suddenly becomes louder. No names, no kings, no conquests carved into its walls. Could that be intentional? A way to keep ego and empire from corrupting the record? If this site predates even writing, then perhaps its builders encoded knowledge in a different way, through form, ratio, and resonance. Some suggest the platform's geometry holds patterns found in other ancient sites across the world. Like a global language of stone, could Baalbek be a chapter in a forgotten script, each site telling part of a larger story? And if so, who wrote it? And why were they silenced? The fear of loss has always haunted human civilization. Fires consumed the library of Alexandria. Floods erased coastlines where early cities once thrived. But Baalbek survived. Maybe that was the point. Maybe it was always meant to be a failsafe, a backup drive from a prehistoric world. But preserved for whom? Some theories speak of future generations, others of survivors after cataclysm. There are even those who say it was built for watchers, those who once walked among us, who needed a marker to return to. Could Baalbek be a beacon, as much as it is a vault? One meant to be seen from the sky, understood only by those who know what to look for? Some of its alignments suggest a deeper knowledge of the cosmos, of precession, solstice points, and Earth's cycles. Was Baalbek placed with cosmic rhythms in mind, counting down not just time, but return? The idea is unsettling. It hints that Baalbek wasn't just about the past, but the future. And if something was meant to be preserved there, could it still be active? A vibration, a code, a field of energy sleeping beneath stone, waiting to be unlocked. If we accept this, another possibility opens. Perhaps Baalbek was meant to preserve more than knowledge. Perhaps it was meant to preserve function. Could it still work as a device? An instrument that channels something from the earth or sky? Some suggest telluric energy or piezoelectric fields were captured through its stonework, and that the design was not symbolic, but practical. Was the preservation of that function the real goal? And if so, did someone already disable it? Or are we just too blind to recognize it? Across ancient texts, we hear of builders who feared what would come after them. They encoded their warnings in symbols, myths, and monuments. Could Baalbek's silence be louder than all their voices? A wordless cry to remember what once was, and what might come again? And if it is, then what are we forgetting? What knowledge have we dismissed, buried beneath our certainty? Perhaps the real danger is not that Baalbek holds secrets, but that we are no longer willing to hear them. Its stones are still speaking. We have simply stopped listening. If the builders were trying to preserve memory, perhaps it was not just theirs, but ours. A memory we have yet to awaken, buried not beneath the platform, but within the part of us that still wonders, that still questions. What if? What kind of truth would someone build with stones that could outlast kingdoms, storms, and even memory? If Baalbek was created to preserve something, it wasn't just stonework or tribute to a god, it was a fortress of time itself. The deeper we dig, not into the earth, but into the silence left behind, the more we sense something was not just forgotten, but deliberately concealed. Baalbek defies all normal timelines. Its stones were placed with intent, and yet no name is tied to them. Why? What knowledge was so potent that the builders left no signature? Could it be that revealing the truth about Baalbek might shift how we see not only history, but ourselves? The trilithon's impossible weight, the sealed chambers beneath, the celestial alignments above. It's as if each element was part of a larger message encoded into the earth. But what if the message was a warning? Many ancient myths speak of floods, of skyfire, of gods turning their faces from humanity. What if these tales weren't metaphors, but veiled memories of something that actually happened? Something catastrophic. Something that forced an entire civilization to vanish or go into hiding. What if the builders of Baalbek didn't disappear? They erased themselves. Some researchers believe the monoliths were never meant to be seen. They were meant to endure, But endure what? Could Baalbek have been created as a time capsule, meant to survive cataclysm? Or worse, was it designed to suppress something too powerful to remain free? In that light, Baalbek isn't just a monument. It becomes a seal, a lock. And if it was a lock, then something must have been locked away. The absence of tools, inscriptions, and bodies doesn't suggest abandonment. It suggests intervention, that someone or something came later and swept the story clean. Does that mean the Romans found more than just a platform when they arrived? Did they discover a truth they couldn't allow to be remembered? Or did they unknowingly build their temple atop a wound that had never healed? As we trace the lines of the giant stones, the geometry whispers of purpose, too perfect to be guesswork. Some patterns repeat across other megalithic sites, like echoes of a shared language. A forgotten blueprint. Were all these ancient centers, Puma Punku, the Osirion, the Giza Plateau, once part of a single system? And if so, did the fall of one signal the fall of all? Perhaps Baalbek was the keystone, the place where the last flame of that ancient knowledge flickered. When it went dark, everything else followed. Is that why the builders left no name? To protect themselves from being hunted by time? To make sure the story could only be seen by those willing to look deeper? There's a theory that memory isn't just something we carry. It's something we bury, to protect it from those who would twist it. Could Baalbek be a buried memory, not of what we've lost, but of what we were never meant to have in the first place? If ancient energy systems once pulsed through these stones, if sound and resonance moved mountains, then the builders weren't just masons. They were keepers of a force that could shape the world. Wouldn't that kind of power be feared? Suppressed? Erased? Yet the stones remain. They cannot be burned, rewritten, or denied. They are immune to propaganda. That makes them dangerous. That makes them holy. And maybe that's why no one dares excavate too deep beneath Baalbek today. What might they find? A chamber of relics? A map of the stars? Or something that would collapse the carefully arranged layers of accepted history? Some locals speak of curses. Others speak of lights seen above the quarry long ago. Are these just folk tales? Or did some part of the old world try to speak, only to be silenced again? As we step back and look at the full picture, the question becomes too loud to ignore. What secret was Baalbek built to keep? What civilization gave everything to hide it? And did they succeed? Or did they leave it here on purpose, waiting for a time when we'd be ready to remember? Perhaps that time is now.